Ooh, hello everyone. How's it going out there? Welcome to a special edition of House Arrest on a Monday evening, no less. How you doing?
I am good. How are you? Just
I
reading
am
over
well
some
also.
documents here.
Some documents. I
10-page.
apologize in advance for my voice. I was in Calgary over the weekend and did a lot of talking and yelling in good ways over some crowd noise. So my throat's a little bit rusty here, but
It looked like
I
it was.
just got to make sure. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was really good. That must be our guest, I'm assuming, popping in. Yeah, there he is. Okay, perfect. We have a special edition tonight. We had breaking news from the Justice Center regarding the case conference hearing of our civil lawsuit, our $290 million class action lawsuit. So before we bring John on, I just want to bring you up to speed here. I'm going to try to share my screen. I'm not technologically inclined by any means. Okay. Let's see if that comes up. There we go. Okay. The Justice Center announces that a significant procedural development has occurred in the $290 million class action lawsuit targeting peaceful Freedom Convoy protesters and donors. At a case conference held on Thursday, January the 29th, 2026, Justice Callan MacLeod agreed to hear a motion brought by the defense seeking a permanent stay of proceedings because of the plaintiff's failure to disclose a settlement agreement to the defendant's legal team. Fairness in the justice system depends on full and timely disclosure, according to the law, said constitutional lawyer and our lawyer, James Manson. Now I have another article here I want to bring up. And this is the article from the JCCF from this morning.
The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom.
I'll just read it. Yep.
From the start room.
This was the release that the Justice Center put out this morning. The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Oh, I didn't bring it up. 1 second. See, I told you I'm not technologically inclined. The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms announces that a significant procedural development has occurred in the $290 million class action lawsuit targeting peaceful convoy protesters. Okay, I read that already. The settlement agreement was signed in April of 2024 between the plaintiffs and one of the defendants, Chad Eros. At the time, Mr. Eros did not have a lawyer formally on the court record. Under the agreement, once it was signed, Mr. Eros was required to provide all relevant documents in his possession to the plaintiff's lawyers within 60 days and take part in a private meeting with them to discuss those documents. Mr. Eros also agreed to forward a settlement amount to the plaintiffs within 6 months, all in exchange for his release from the action. However, it is alleged that the settlement funds were never paid. The agreement was not shared with the other defense lawyers until January 28th, 2026, nearly 19 months later. So, I mean, I'm not going to totally get into reading all of the bulk of that. This is obviously going to have an effect on our case. So I'm going to bring on our guest, John Carpe, and I'm also bringing on our good friends, Tamara and Danny Bulford. Welcome to the show, everybody. Come on in. We got a house full here tonight.
We do.
To see everyone.
Good. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us again, John. It's
I'm so glad to be with you.
Thanks for making the time. This is a pretty significant development, as your press release said. What are your initial thoughts on the case conference hearing from Thursday?
Well, so we have a shot potentially at pausing the action indefinitely, right? So this is the $290 million lawsuit brought by the Ottawa bureaucrat Zexi Lee and the Happy Goat Coffee Company and other Ottawa residents who think that losing a few nights' sleep entitles them to $290 million. I'm being a bit facetious, but in class actions, if you want to make a side deal to get out, which is what happened here. So Chad Eros, who was in Ottawa and, busy and active and involved in participating, he's one of the defendants in this $290 million lawsuit. Now, he's entitled to try and make a deal and say, look, I'll pay you money and you remove my name as a defendant. That's okay. People can try to advance their own interests. but it has to be above board and it has to be disclosed, and the other defendants have to know about it. And this has been, I think, quite dishonorable these last 19 months of doing this secretly. Again, if it's above board, it's legitimate. You can, as a defendant, try to get yourself out of the lawsuit and say, look, I'm going to pay the plaintiffs, whatever, 50,000 or 10,000 or whatever, and I want you to, get me out, so you're no longer suing me. That's okay to try that. But the rules are such that it has to be done fairly and above board. And so now the lawyer, James Manson, who is on the case, he's part of the Justice Center's network of lawyers. He's making an application that the entire class action should be put on hold indefinitely because of this unfairness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's big.
Well, agreed. I mean, there is a certain time frame, I think, that has been set for disclosure of things like that. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a safe proceedings. We also have the.
You got to remember, the terms for this deal in the courts, John. Correct me if I'm wrong. If somebody makes a side deal and the other people in the group don't know about that, they could potentially give information or get information from that other person unknowingly, right? When he's actually become a traitor to everyone else in the group. Is that what the gist of it is?
I don't know if that's the underlying premise for the rule, but it does, it seems very plausible, right? If somebody makes the side deal and says, okay, I'm going to pay you 10,000 and you get me off of this statement of claim. Well, if he's no longer, a part of it, part of the lawsuit, he could say whatever he wants. He could be a witness for whatever side that he wants, and so that's relevant, of course.
Mm-hmm. I do have the decision here from the judge. Let's see if there we go. From the case conference. So this is from January 29th on Thursday. The case conference here, Paul Champ, all the lawyers present. Now, one thing that I did find really interesting that I do think is very important, John, is that Judge McLeod stated in here that he has decided not to hear the motion for the stay and the certification motion for the class action on the same day. He's going to be hearing the stay of proceedings motion first. And I guess then he'll decide from there, whatever happens. So yeah, in terms of scheduling, council will recall that pursuant to the previous endorsement, they were to have kept March 11th, 2026 and dates in July. So to preface this a little bit, because that's going to be a little bit confusing. The plaintiffs in this case, their legal counsel has been ghosting Freedom Convoy legal counsel for months. They had set a timetable for us to get our affidavits in, get the certification for the motion for certification before the court and all that stuff. And they'd set a timetable and they failed to meet it and then ended up ghosting all of the lawyers. So until they set this case conference, that was the first time that any of us heard back from Paul Champ.
Lawyers are supposed to, whether you're acting for the plaintiff or the defendant, you're supposed to adhere to timetables. So that's it's not right, especially if you're the plaintiff, you're trying to move it forward. Of all people, some defendants typically try to delay. That's normal and to be expected, but the plaintiff is seeking to move things ahead.
Yes, and where was that one? They indicated, the plaintiffs, I think, indicated that they would be arguing against the stay of proceedings motion based on the fact that no money had yet exchanged hands between Chad and Paul's office. Correct?
And that's a reason why we're not assured of a victory on that. You never are anyway. You could have the strongest case in the world. I mean, certainly some of the Justice Center's cases against lockdowns were very strong. We had fantastic evidence, and judges chose to ignore the evidence before them and write the media narrative into their court rulings. So even a strong case doesn't guarantee you success. But here, this is something the judge might find persuasive. It's like, well, okay, you signed this agreement, you should have told us about it, and you haven't been upright and upfront, and you haven't followed the rules, but you didn't really see it all the way through, right? With whatever the amount was, I think it was 60,000 or so. If the money hadn't changed hands yet,
In the agreement to testify against others and hand all documents over in relating to any evidence that he may have, right?
well, I don't know the details of that deal. Are you saying, Chris, that that agreement says that Chad Arrows was planning to turn over? You've got a copy of the agreement.
I do, yes.
Okay. Well, I won't comment on it. Comment on it. Talk about what's in it. I haven't read it, so.
Yeah.
My understanding on the details was he had 60 days to turn over the evidence, but he had 6 months to pay Paul Champ the $60,000. So in essence, in the first 2 months of that 6-month period, he turned over everything that he had, and then couldn't come up with the $60,000 to give Paul Champ, and so he lost the deal. So he turned it all over for free, but he's still on the hook. I mean, paying $60,000 is, one thing, but I can't say it's for free. But he was trying. It's bizarre to me. It's like saying, okay, don't sue me because I'm innocent, but I'll give you $60,000 if you just leave me alone. Right? But I'll turn on all my friends. I'll give all the evidence I can provide for you. If I can come up with the 60,000, but now that I can't come up with the 60,000, oops, sorry, I gave you all the evidence I had.
So are you saying that Chad Arrows has turned over whatever knowledge, evidence, documents, emails, whatever, that he has turned over stuff to the plaintiff's lawyer? And again, I'm sorry, I'm not James Manson's the lawyer is running this, right? Yeah. So I'm a little bit, wasn't able to join this evening, but are you saying that evidence has already gone over to Paul Champ?
Well, we don't know. What we know is that he had 60 days to do it, but he had 6 months to pay the money. So I can't even comprehend what there would be to turn over to him. But I guess that's, Paul Champ. Like when I testified at the POEC and I was on the stand, Paul Champ cross-examined me, and it was just a fishing expedition. He was just asking questions so that I would implicate other people. So whatever he turned over, I have absolute 100% full confidence that it's nothing that incriminates any of us. I just think that it's a fishing expedition that Chad Arrows was willing to pay $60,000 for.
Well, and I was, as you know, I was not in Ottawa during Freedom Convoy, but of course I've heard lots about it. I wouldn't lose sleep over if he's turned over documents and emails. You guys have got nothing to hide anyway. It's pretty transparent what all occurred and what happened, and it's pretty straightforward. I would be completely surprised. I'd be totally blown away if he had some email that was going to cause harm. I think that's just not likely to happen because you did what you did it peacefully, you did it honorably, right? So even, whatever he's turned over, I couldn't see it really bringing much of an advantage to the plaintiffs.
No, exactly. That's exactly right. That is
John,
exactly
are we allowed to talk about some of the other lawsuits that are going on right now that a lot of people probably don't know about that are already filed? And I don't know if I'm going too far in this when I ask this question, but there's other lawsuits, right, regarding other people here. Are we allowed to talk about that at all?
Well, you can talk about whatever you want. Lawsuits are public, right? And that's a deliberate pillar of the legal system. You can't sue people in secret unless, and there's rare exceptions if you're a sexual abuse victim and, there's privacy, confidentiality. There's some exceptions, but basically the idea is that this should be in public for the sake of transparency, for the sake of accountability. This is why criminal trials are in public. Because if you could have secret criminal trials, right, that's a nightmare that repressive regimes do, right? They arrest you in secret, they lock you up in jail in secret, and then they give you a secret trial and maybe a secret execution afterwards. So, if you want to talk about other lawsuits, that's totally up to you.
Well,
Yeah.
Chad actually has a lawsuit filed right now against the Justice Center, right? And against
that one.
I was trying not to approach it too bad in case you couldn't mention it, but I was trying to get just.
There's been, yeah, it's publicly accessible information he has filed a statement of claim against the Justice Center saying that we caused him harm by not telling him that if he went to Ottawa he could potentially get sued. It's a little bit far-fetched. We filed a statement of defense to say that we disagree completely with his allegations.
I remember being part of those some of those Zoom meetings, John, and listening to him go off on you. Is there any way you could countersue that for harm that he caused you? 'Cause I remember it was quite the conflict, and we eventually had to say goodbye to Chad because of that anger and that hostility towards anyone who was out there trying to take control of whatever fundraising was out there, and we had to say goodbye. There's a long and short story to this whole saga, and I would like more people to know about the insides of it.
I don't feel that I've been harmed by Chad Eros. I wouldn't sue him. I don't feel like he's caused me any harm, and but yeah, and you're also sorry.
Sorry, John. I'm sorry to cut you off. I was just going to say, it would just be frivolous. It would be like a defamation suit. You're just going to spend a whole lot of money, a lot of your energy, a lot of your time, for nothing, like for basically nothing. You're not going to really get anything out of it. So yeah, that's just my comment.
Well, there's a dark. That's kind of the problem with defamation lawsuits, and there is a time and a place for them. If you sue somebody for defamation, you have to repeat the defamatory comments in the statement of claim, and the statement of claim is a public document that's filed at the courthouse that is not too hard to get a hold of. You can go to the court and pay $10 for a search. Maybe they have electronic ways now, but you have to think twice about suing somebody for defamation, because whatever bad things they said, if they said you're crooked, you're corrupt, you're dishonest, whatever they said about you, you got to print that in your statement of claim, file it at the courthouse, and then whoever wants to can say, oh, so-and-so suing for defamation, whatever, right? So it's always, defamation lawsuits are tricky business that way, because they can sometimes draw a lot more attention to whatever it was that somebody said about you that's not true. Right. You sue somebody, yes, it's going to get a lot of publicity, or it can get a lot of publicity. So, but I'm not aware. Chris, I'm not aware of whatever Chad has said about me or against me. I don't know. I don't care. I'm just not interested.
Yes. Yeah. But you're right. It just, they end up creating their own monsters, much like, Chris and me just going through the whole trial and the whole process. It felt like, every time we were dragged back there, it was turned into another media circus and just sort of exposed us and platformed us even more. So, in a sense, they created their own monster. So I can totally agree with that.
Personally, made us more famous than we ever kind of asked to be, I guess. And that's maybe, yeah, welcome to our life for the last 4 years. If they would have let a lot of it go, we would have melted back into the history books and probably been forgot about by now. But they've dragged us through the courts for so long, it's made us almost infamous.
Mm-hmm. So we are going, this says in the article, the next case conference will be March the 4th. I'm assuming that is when the judge will be hearing the stay of proceedings argument. That was brought on by Andrew Burgess, I believe, and that is the defendant for Pat and those guys. No, sorry, not Pat. Benjamin and those guys. Yeah, that was Benjamin. So they're bringing that on, which obviously we're supporting.
Can we also bring to light this lawsuit right now is $290 million, and right now the plaintiffs on it are some of the people you're looking at on the screen here, except for John. Of course, John is helping us defend this, but there's a lot of people involved with Freedom Convoy that are part of this lawsuit right now. But what Paul Champ, downtown lawyer, Ottawa lawyer, wants to do is he wants to add the donor class to the John Doe section of this lawsuit. Anyone who donated $25 to the Freedom Convoy could be liable and be part of this lawsuit going forward if Paul Champ has his way in the courts and has this donor class added to lawsuit. So it's imperative that we win this and we have this lawsuit taken care of, in the courts.
It's absolutely, it's important. Now, it's a weak argument, but just because it's weak doesn't mean you go at it full force anyways. Mm-hmm. So like by way of analogy, right? Let's say you donate money to the Salvation Army, registered charity, doing good things, helping people. But let's say that there's one particular office of the Salvation Army in some Canadian city, and somebody's been, let's say an employee is treated unfairly, gets fired and sues the Salvation Army. Okay. And maybe that person will win because maybe the Salvation Army is liable, they mistreated the person, or maybe the claim will be dismissed because it doesn't have a solid basis to it. But if that person also said, I'm going to sue all the people who donated to the Salvation Army, the law is that it's too remote, right? In law, it's a matter of closeness. If you rear end somebody, right, you can be liable, but and the guy that got rear-ended can sue you for rear-ending him. He can't sue your boss or your wife who got you upset that morning and got you into a bad mood so that you weren't driving properly, but somebody else caused that because they upset you, therefore you weren't. That's called remoteness, right? So that's very remote. So in the same way that if a former employee of the Salvation Army, they can't sue donors to the Salvation Army because you just had no knowledge of whatever. So in the same way with Freedom Convoy, I mean, I don't think the claim has merit anyways, but for the people who are actually in Ottawa, for those defendants, but then to try to extend it and say somebody that sent in $25. So we're going to fight tooth and nail to defeat that in particular, because that would be just a horrible precedent that people who donate to a cause, and then there's somebody who does something wrong, and then they're liable for donating. That's just wrong.
That's what we've seen happen in the last number of years with our trial process, is the Crown using case law that they have come up with in the last number of years. I mean, Tamara and I's case was essentially based on the Coots protest, which we had absolutely nothing to do with. It was in a separate protest, and other people's actions in Ottawa that we were not associated with. So case law has been evident, and this is yet another example of case law that could move forward that could potentially ruin somebody else down the road. This is case law going forward for all Canadians, not just us.
Well, there's a bit of a counterpoint to that, in that every situation is different, which is why we've had the last 4 years that the Justice Centre has been funding legal representation for Harold Jonker, who won, and other people who've won, but then other people have lost. So, I mean, it's still fact specific, but yeah, they do try to. That's par for the course. I mean, both sides try to use case law. There's nothing wrong with that in and of itself.
It's true. So we didn't get to use a lot of the case law on our side, it seemed like, in our trial. I felt it unfair. Did you, Tamara? Did you feel it that way?
No. John, can you speak to, I've seen a couple comments now, so regarding the money that's in the escrow. So if this, say we do seek a stay of proceedings and it is granted and this lawsuit ceases, can you explain what will happen with that? Now that I believe Paul has first dibs on it, basically, but following that, it'll go directly to the Attorney General of Ontario, as far as I know.
The James Manson, the lawyer on the file, would be able to answer that. I just don't know, and I'm not going to risk a guess. I apologize.
Yeah, that's no problem. No problem. As far as what I think I know, is that there was the two layers on it. The Paul Champ had claim to that money first and foremost, followed by the Attorney General of Ontario. If Paul was unsuccessful in this class action lawsuit, it would default automatically to the Attorney General of Ontario, based on the fact that all they really needed was one conviction of mischief from any of the convoy participants. Am I right, Tom? You're nodding. I'm just making sure that I'm getting that right.
I've always been a little bit sketchy.
I don't know about the escrow funds. I haven't been closely involved in the legal files, so I just don't know it at all.
Yeah, in that whole issue, all I know is that it's basically like Keith has explained to me before. It's like there's two packages. Like, it's almost like one of those Russian Matushka dolls with all these layers of people making claim to that money. And I know Paul Champ was the very first one, and then I do know that the Attorney General of Ontario was the second one. So even if Paul Champ's is unraveled, then, you know, to release those monies from the escrow, we'd have to go through the Attorney General of Ontario, and that's probably just a whole different set of criteria that, and I don't even know. And I think there might even almost be one more layer of this doll around the money. But Keith is the one who really intimately understands how this stuff works, and James, of course.
And
Wasn't
James,
it
yeah.
Keith and James would have really good answers for that.
I think it might
Go
have
ahead,
been
Danny.
the federal government.
They
Can you
did.
hear me okay? I think it
Yeah.
might have been the federal government. If it didn't get taken by Champ and it didn't get taken by Ontario, I thought somewhere along the line someone told us that the federal government might try and go for it.
Right. Yeah. That's still going to be a very long process anyways. So,
Well, and I suspect it's motivating the lawsuit. There's a few million sitting there, right? So it makes it worthwhile for somebody, Paul Champ or any other lawyer, to step forward. And I don't know anything about the retainer that he signed with the plaintiffs, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was a contingency agreement where he's going to get, you know, whatever they agreed upon, 30%, 20%, 10% of the money. I mean, I don't know. That's speculation. I mean, maybe they're paying him an hourly rate, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a contingency agreement and there's millions sitting there. If the millions were not in escrow, you know, there's a pretty good chance the lawsuit might not have been brought.
There's about 4.5 million in, you know, that was seized, and then another 800,000, my understanding, in crypto. And, you know, for anybody who's interested in doing, you know, a 5-minute Google search, they can go on the POEC. I've posted the link several times on X. I think it's November 16th when the two forensic audit teams, all their findings were presented at the POEC. I think it's either November 16th or the November 2nd-ish, one of those days. But there's never been in Canada crowdfunded money so thoroughly investigated and picked over by two different types of forensic audit teams than this money that was donated to the convoy. So every cent, every coin, everything is accounted for. It's still in the vault with the Attorney General of Ontario. They have the money. So, you know, the rumors of us having it, no, false. Nobody has it, but Doug Ford's Attorney General has it locked behind a big giant safe. And just go and look at the testimony. I mean, the federal government presented the forensic audit reports themselves.
They did.
yeah, the report's right there on the POEC website.
Yes,
There's a whole
it
report
is.
on all of it. Yeah, I mean that's the most investigated money of all time. It was investigated by FinTrack, CSIS, the Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, the Ottawa Police Service, the Ontario Provincial Police, the RCMP. Goodness, I'm forgetting some even. So,
And nobody has been criminally charged for mishandling or stealing money in relation to Freedom Convoy. I mean, that says a lot, right? Because if they felt that they had a case, knowing how politically motivated the prosecutors are on this issue, if they did have even a little bit of evidence that there was something a little bit wrong, I'm sure they would have moved ahead with criminal charges against whoever they thought was responsible. But that says a lot. If the money is heavily investigated and nobody's getting criminally charged for stealing, misappropriation, whatever, then that says a lot.
I was just trying to find the link for the POEC website. There was a website, and I seem to have lost the link. I had it on my old computer, I guess, but it is readily available online, and you can look at all the testimony, all the documents, everything on the POEC.
all the evidence.
Yeah, everything was listed and well documented too. I might even have it on my phone saved.
So switching gears here on you, John, for just 1 second, and
I'll
then
find
we're
it
going to
and
let
post
you
it.
go. You've been gracious enough to give us your time again this evening. It has been over 2 weeks now since the Federal Court of Appeals upheld the Justice Mosley decision. And we have shockingly not seen a statement come out from the PMO's office. I've not seen a statement come out from Sean Fraser, the Justice Minister. I've not seen any exclusive reports from any of the mainstream media. So, I mean, don't you think that's a little bit odd that, this judgment has been upheld? And what's your personal opinion? Do you think the federal government is going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court?
Well, two things. One is I think they've learned from their mistake from last time when the federal court trial division, when the lower court released a judgment more than 50,000 words in length on 100 pages if you print it. So sizable judgment, the size of a short book maybe. That within, I forget now, 22 minutes, 44 minutes, they held a news conference and said, we're appealing, which is obviously a pure political arrogance, because a good lawyer would read a judgment first and see if there's something in it that warrants an appeal, something that the lawyer or anybody else, a non-lawyer, you got to read the judgment and see if there's something in it that's worth appealing. So they announced that, within minutes without having read the judgment. So I think they've learned from their mistake. Kudos to the federal government for not, announcing a decision to appeal without having read the decision. So it looks like they're doing the proper thing. They're actually reading the decision and thinking about it. Now, the Supreme Court of Canada is not, most courts in Canada, most courts of appeal, and I think Ontario is a little bit different, but most courts of appeal in Canada, if you want to appeal the trial judgment, you just file the appeal and that's it. And the court will hear it and they'll grant your appeal or they will dismiss it. The Supreme Court of Canada is different. There's a two-step process where first you apply to ask the court to please hear your appeal. And if they say yes, it doesn't mean that they like it or they think you have a good chance. And then if they say yes, then you have your second thing, which is the actual appeal. Now, what the federal government has to persuade, if the federal government wants to appeal this, they have to persuade the Supreme Court of Canada that there is an important legal doctrine that is in dispute where there's a lack of clarity in the law. And those are the cases that the Supreme Court is interested in, is for example, if the BC and Saskatchewan courts of appeal rule one way on an issue and the Alberta and Quebec courts of appeal rule another way on an issue, and if the issue is important, that's likely to get heard by the Supreme Court of Canada, because it's going to say, look, we got this legal doctrine. It could be family law, contract law, criminal law, constitutional law. We got this legal doctrine and we have there's a lack of clarity in the law. So we're going to take this on to render a decision and provide clarity in the law. So if the federal government wants to appeal, they're going to have to try to persuade the Supreme Court that somewhere in this ruling, in the Federal Court of Appeal ruling, there's an important legal doctrine that is not clear, that requires the help of the Supreme Court of Canada to bring clarity. So all of that said is to say the federal government would have an uphill fight trying to persuade the Supreme Court to hear this case.
And don't we have a little bit of bias with one of the Supreme Court judges coming out with some pretty
Absolutely.
Not one of them, the one.
The one.
The Grand Poobah.
Yes. Yeah, the Grand Poobah.
What's his name? Roberts?
I can't believe he took time out of his day from
Wagner.
admiring his new bust.
Richard Wagner.
Richard Wagner.
Yes.
Most people wait until after they leave an organization before they, start hanging up portraits. Like a university president will wait until after retirement before there's a nice portrait. The premiers of the provinces, when you go to the Legislative Assembly, I'd venture a guess that in Alberta's Legislative Assembly there is not a portrait of Danielle Smith. I think that's going to be at some point in the future when she's no longer premier. But not the Supreme Court of Canada. No, we've got a bust of the current Chief Justice. I mean, it's ludicrous.
No one loves some Richard Wagner more than Richard Wagner.
And
John, I want to thank you so much for making the time to come tonight. If
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Donate to the Justice Center, who has helped so many of not just Freedom Convoy cases, but cases all across the country. and defending those who can't defend themselves. You can go to www.jccf.ca. You can also follow them at JCCF Canada on X. John, do you have any final thoughts, or any of you guys have anything for John before we let him go have his dinner?
John, we appreciate everything you do. I just have to make sure that you know that we've been here. You know, you've been with us right from the start, and we look up to you, and especially the Justice Center.
I look up to you guys. You've suffered so much and you've given so much, and I really appreciate what you did in Ottawa and fighting back ever since. So we'll keep on. Final word: we'll keep on fighting until we win.
Absolutely.
And you've got the George Jonas Freedom Award coming up. I heard that.
Yes.
Was it Candace Malcolm?
Candace Malcolm is the 2026 recipient.
Nice.
So we're having an event in Toronto on Monday, June 1st, and then an event in Vancouver on August the 20th, I think, and then in Calgary on September 24th. So we're going to have these events, and Candace is going to be there and speak. And it's just another great Canadian in following in line with Ezra Levant and Tamara Leach and Christy Blatchford and Mark Stein and Jordan Peterson. So
it feels like it was just yesterday.
I might have to try and get a work exemption and come report on that dinner then.
Ezra should ask you to come and report on our Calgary dinner on Thursday, September 24th. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. We'll see what we can do. Danny, anything before we let John go?
I just thank you very much, John, for everything you guys have done for us. Man, if that team of lawyers hadn't showed up, we would have been in a lot more trouble than we ended up in. So we owe the JCCF and everyone that came to lend their expertise a huge thank you. And I'm forever grateful for everything you guys have done for all of us. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me with you tonight. Have a great rest of the night.
See you, John.
Okay, have a great night, John. Thank you.
Well, I'm thankful to the comment section tonight because it is just a mess fest of people. I was thinking, there's a time and place for everything, everybody, but I've been wanting to share a couple comments on the screen, but not wanting to do that while John was on here. So
I kept it clean, and I posted the link to the POEC. And it was day 16, November 3rd. Is when the POEC presented the forensic audit on the results of it to the commission themselves. I think they were up there for quite a while talking about this money. But you can go on there and watch it yourself if you really want to know where the money went.
Everything's there.
So everything is there.
One of the most accounting in Canadian history, right there.
Yeah, the four of us were sitting in the room for most of that commission, listening to all this stuff. 7.5 weeks we sat in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And just stop the miscarriage of government throughout this. COVID was 2 years, in the making, and mandates and crippling people. And I talked about this the other day in an interview I did. People were taking their lives. People were unaliving themselves at a fast rate. And the suicide, the depression, everything was at an all-time high in this country because of those mandates. And when we stood up, we were standing up for those people that didn't feel like they had a voice, and they were a really, really dark spot. And then people stepped up and they donated to the cause to support that, because people wanted change so badly in this country. And the government came in and froze bank accounts and still holds. Thank goodness, GoFundMe, the people were able to get the refund on the money except for the $1 million. Thank goodness Jacob Wells was able to hit the refund button on the Give, Send, Go and get it back to donators before the government came at us. I wish they would have done that with everything. Every dollar would have went back to donors, because we didn't. It just put a bigger target on our backs. And look at the trouble it's caused ever since now.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm just trying to find this one thing to bring up. So talk amongst yourselves.
Well, I was walking the dog today, and I just had this memory. I totally forgot about it, and I think, Chris, I was out at your fundraiser a couple of years ago, in Swift Current, and somebody came up to me. This guy came up, a really good dude, came up, and he showed me a picture on his phone, and he goes, "Do you remember me?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I feel bad if I don't," right? And he's like, "Here, let me give you a hint." And he pulled out his cell phone and he showed me a picture. and it was the inside of a forearm with a phone number on it.
Oh,
And I'm like, now I remember who you are. Now I remember. It was the day when, you know, the after the Emergencies Act was invoked, and we had all the lawyers show up, and we put out a hotline phone number for the lawyers. So basically, if you got taken by the police, call that phone number when they give you a chance to make a call. Well, I scribbled it in marker on the inside of my forearm in case I got taken. And I was like, well, I'm not going to remember the phone number, but I want to. And so I met this guy on the street, and he was asking me, what do we do if the police arrest you? And so I lifted up the sleeve on my arm, and I said, take a picture of my arm, call that phone number. And I met him again in Swift Current. Like, it was just hilarious. But that phone number was to the lawyers who showed up to bail us all out and get us some actual help. Not you, Tamara, but everyone else.
how many people have some written on their forearm?
I would have had to get a tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a copy of the settlement agreement here that I want to try to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading through it here. It's only 10 pages in length. It does state that there's a $60,000 sum due in $60,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to do this a different way because I'm technologically challenged. So
And this is available for the public, right? Anybody can look on the court docs and find exactly what we're looking at.
It's been filed. Yeah. So this is I just want to find the right page here.
Dated April 3rd, 2024.
Yeah, April 3rd, 2024.
Well,
the people
So-
thing would be Zexi Lee, Happy Goat Company, coffee company in Ottawa. We have a numbered company here and a local Union 613, which is a restaurant in the downtown core of Ottawa. Jeffrey Devaney.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's basically the red zone. Paul has went out of his way to try and get anyone in the red zone. Part of the $290 million settlement.
So I've got a question for you
Yes.
guys, because I was trying to think of this morning, and I couldn't think of it. But as I recall, we as a group had the meeting with the lawyers not that long ago when we had first heard that this document or this situation was what actually happened. It's only been a few months since we even got a whiff of it, and we didn't get any confirmation that this was even true until not that long ago. And I'm talking a matter of weeks, not long. Like that's my recollection of the meeting that we had with the lawyers that briefed us on this particular situation. We didn't actually know that this was even something that had happened until very, very recently. And I'm talking within the last few months. But again, I want to make sure to be clear. We didn't have confirmation that this was actually happening until only weeks ago. That's my recollection of this whole thing here. I don't know about you guys, if you guys remember it differently, because we've had so many bloody meetings with this particular case. But
well, I just want to go to page 4 here, where we start getting into some of the details, if you don't mind, for 1 second, Tom.
Yeah. Yes.
Pardon me. The settling defendant will pay or cause to be paid the settlement amount to Champ & Associates in trust within 6 months from the date of this settlement agreement, and that amount was $60,000. Was $60,000. In the event the settling defendant does not pay or cause to be paid the settlement amount by the date, this shall be void and not enforced. Okay, whatever. Where's that? And then we have sorry, it is 10 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
So this is page 6.
And this had to be heard by the judge before any of this. This had to be filed in court and heard by the judge before any of this has become public knowledge, okay? And that just happened January 29th.
Yes, typically an agreement like this, of this nature, should be disclosed immediately for the reasons that you and John were talking about earlier. I mean, it'd be like basically having a mole in your group that could be, you know, sitting in and taking, like, you know, strategizing with your strategies behind your back. I mean, there's definitely precedent set against doing this type of stuff. Cooperation, scope of cooperation. Within 60 days of the execution of the settlement by the parties, the defendant shall provide to the plaintiffs and class action counsel copies of all documents in his possession, power, or control. The parties, point 13 is that on here, the parties respectively acknowledge and agree that all information and documents provided by the settling defendant to the plaintiffs under this agreement may be used by the plaintiffs in connection with the investigation, prosecution, and settlements of the claims in the action, including, without limitation, the certification of the action and prosecution of the claims in action against the non-settling defendants, provided that such information and documents shall not be directly or indirectly used for any other purpose. The plaintiff shall take all reasonable steps and precautions to ensure and maintain the confidentiality and the information of the documents. At the request of the plaintiffs. Now, there's one thing I want you guys to also understand. This lawsuit isn't just Tom Marazzo, Tamara Leach, Chris Barber, and Daniel. We're talking about the Freedom Convoy organizers that are named in this lawsuit. We're talking about truck drivers that are named in this lawsuit. We're talking about protesters, just regular people that are named in this lawsuit. We're talking about the donors, the donor class that Paul Champ is hoping to include is who he has signed agreement to provide evidence and testify against. Let's keep going.
And Jacob Wells himself, the owner. Sorry, I want to say,
Jacob Wells,
he's the owner of Give Send Go. Yeah.
At the request of the plaintiffs and upon reasonable notice, the settling defendant shall A, make himself available to provide information relating to the allegations in the action in 3 personal interviews with class counsel lasting no more than 5 hours each. That's 15 hours. He's going to fly to Ontario and sit with a court reporter, which may be transcribed by a court reporter and which will occur at mutually convenient locations and on 3 separately mutually convenient dates. Okay, next slide. After the date that they have completed their document production obligations described in 12 above, after document disclosure and after examinations, he must make himself reasonably available to provide an affidavit in support of either or both the certification of the action and any summary judgment application brought by or against the plaintiffs in the action, and to attend for cross-examination on any such affidavit. He must make himself reasonably available to provide evidence at the trial of the action, including for the authentication of documents, and to meet with class counsel in preparation to testify against everyone named in this lawsuit at trial.
Boom.
So we can go back to the very, very beginning, and you can see, oh, sorry, I guess not all the plaintiffs are named on this one. So
there's a lot of Jane and John Does yet to be named.
There is a ton of Jane and John Does yet to be named. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure, Chris, if you've gone through this. So in exchange for providing this information, for testifying against everyone named in the class action lawsuit, for turning in the receipts that he was going to have his name removed from the lawsuit and testify against everybody else to save his own skin.
I call that a traitor. I honestly do. It's okay to have a difference of opinion when you're in a movement like this, and gosh knows we've all had it. But you know, like Tamara and I have spoke about this before, Tom, Danny, if you and I ever had a falling out, I would go my own way. But it doesn't seem like that happens in other people's mindsets. So it's been really sad and probably very frustrating to watch over the last 4 years. There's certain people that I don't want to associate with, and this right here proves exactly why I don't want to have anything to do with certain people.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing on many levels, obviously.
This is a Christian man from Saskatchewan here with a pile of children. And what legacy do you have? What do you leave for your children when you do this?
You
For
know,
what?
and I think the thing that upsets me is that he's the only person that I'm aware of, the only person that got paid to go to the convoy.
True.
You know, so Keith Wilson was contacted by a donor, and I don't know who the donor is, so I don't mind mentioning it, but a donor said, look, I have a lot of money. I want to donate it. And he gave it to Keith and said, you disperse the money as you see fit and appropriate. And we needed the accountant. Because you guys formed the corporation, it was proper to look after all this money effectively. We had an accountant. So Chad was hired to go to the convoy, and he received money. And not only that, but Keith Wilson paid him $3,000 of his own pocket. So Chad got paid $13,000 to go there and to attend. And you know what? To this day, I am completely unaware of one financial statement that man ever produced.
He
And
never
yet,
even set up the books. That's
He
why I
didn't do
call him the
anything.
accountant that did no accounting. He did no accounting whatsoever. Like, I
Nothing.
mean, all he had to do was set
Nothing.
up the books.
yeah. And you know,
So-
I block all these people. I don't listen to any of them. I block them. I don't interact with them. Like, they don't get any of my attention. But this one really hits a nerve, because there's a lot of people out there that they listen to the rhetoric that comes from a guy like Chad, and then they start making insinuations, like they believe it, and they come after us. And I've said this before many, many times. They go after people like the four of us because Justin Trudeau doesn't return their calls. So we're considered low-hanging fruit. That's really what it is, right? But I'm not going to, I don't mind talking about it today, because for 4 years, the four of us have been vilified in the rumors and all this stuff. Now,
Completely.
it's nothing compared to the amount of love and support we've received. But on this issue, you know, I love it, because I put out a tweet today, and apparently I triggered a couple of them. But I put out a tweet basically saying, look, if you've got the receipts, if you've got this evidence, and you've got some whistleblower, please, for the love of God, stop talking about it and just do a podcast and release all the information. If you don't have it, then shut the hell up. We don't want to hear it. For 4 years,
many
you've been stringing
exposés?
people along.
How
Oh
many
my God.
exposés
It's
have we
always the
have
same,
we
too.
been over the last 4
Always.
years? Except
Yes,
for Danny.
I'm gonna be sitting in the
Danny is
front-
such a good guy
Yeah.
that he never gets
Yeah.
named in all of this nastiness.
But you know, it's always sitting. It's always.
I mean,
sitting
what
in
are
the
they going to
front seat of their
possibly
car.
expose about Danny Bulford, the most perfect man,
I heard
husband
that
alive?
Fed. Come on,
Family
Danny.
man.
Rumors to used to work for the federal government. I mean, come clean with Canadians right at this moment.
Well, I've also been accused of being the guy who carried the Nazi flag. I may have mentioned that before.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never
Even
have
though
heard that before.
I'm
never got that
able
one.
to be in
No.
2 places simultaneously, don't you know? I have magic powers.
Yeah, that's right.
But
Exactly.
whatever. I mean, I've tried to be super calm and just be like, you know what? People are angry. People don't trust anybody, and they're afraid. And I always try and be like, okay, I see things being said and it bothers me, but I just try and remember to tell myself they showed up in Ottawa when we needed people to show up. So
Yes.
even though they're full of faults, I have mine too. They
Yes.
showed up when I needed them, but nothing has demoralized me more than watching the Freedom Convoy people turn on themselves and us and each other. Like, I expect the government to be terrible. That's just my baseline. I expect them to lie and cheat and steal and behave just like the organized crime syndicate that they essentially are. What makes you question your involvement in all of this was when you see people that you thought were all together to stand up for each other start trying to tear each other down nonstop.
Yeah, I can stand fighting with the left on social media. I can stand fighting with government agencies who, oppose us and talk a lot of shit about us. But that is the one thing I've tried really hard. I don't usually attack first, but I will respond from time to time. I'll always attack a bot account. I'll always attack a lost lefty. I love that fight and engagement online. But what I don't like doing is fighting with the people that you're apparently standing with. Even if you didn't stand with them in Ottawa or stand with the same beliefs that they did, if you wanted to stand in a separate group, There should have been a difference, and you were still standing for the same purpose. But some people in this movement can't figure that out.
Well,
Yeah.
we give the you want to call it the enemy an easy victory by attacking each other nonstop instead of focusing on freeing ourselves from their control over us.
Yes, exactly.
But what's frustrating to me is last summer, because we did have to pay a $20,000 cost award to Paul Champ. And, the amazing supporters, the amazing public, and they're always at the top of my mind, not the ones who act inappropriately. But, the Canadians responded in 9 hours, 15 minutes. We raised over $20,000 to pay that legal bill. And 2,000 of it, I personally sent the check. I went to the post office and did the registered mail and sent it to one of these people's lawyer to pay his fee. And he can't stop holding on to every single word we all make and just attack.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, but listen, why did I raise money to help you pay your legal fees? Like, why did I do fundraisers? Why did I go to the post office and to the bank to get you that money, only for you to turn around and viciously lie about me constantly? For what? For attention? You want attention? I'll gladly give you all the attention I can give you. Yeah, have it.
Do you have a
And then
receipt for
to
that?
platform the actual only person that is the turncoat. Like, he put him on a show. This guy is going to testify against him in the civil suit trial to have him sued for $290 million.
Yeah.
Like,
Gave him a big giant megaphone. Yeah, the guy working against him is now being given the microphone by the. You can't make this crap up.
No, you can't. No.
Okay.
I try because I block everybody, right? I don't pay attention to this stuff, but one of them for some reason crept in today, and I thought I couldn't stop laughing. One, it was all lies. It was just all lies. It was everything that was said in this video was pure lies. And again, receipts were mentioned, but I'm like, please just put them out there. I want to see them. I'm so curious to see what a bad person I am. I'd love to see it, but they can't provide it. All it is a means to string along an audience to keep watching them until they can grow. It's a marketing plan. That's all it is. It's a business plan. This is how they're monetizing.
And if I'm just going to put this out there, I mean, we're trying to get this verified, but I mean, we found out, or Chris found out, that perhaps he has a financial backer for his show, and the stipulation was he needed to have us on his show to have that financial backing continue. So,
right.
Been told that by a few people.
Which would make a lot of sense, because, like I said, all he had to do was call or send us a text. Instead, just just goes and makes all these crazy accusations and stuff, and then demands that we go on a show. Like, sorry.
I messaged him when he started his podcast. When he started his podcast months ago, I messaged him on X, and I said, "Hey, congratulations! I wish you the best. I hope you do well. I hope you succeed. Just please don't bring up my name on your show." That's it. His response was, "I've never said anything bad." And one person guessed it already. And it's been months of the same thing. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to say this. If I spent more than 20 minutes with this particular individual the entire 22 days I was at the convoy, like, that would really be pushing it. I didn't spend any time with the guy. I didn't trust him. He had a bad reputation coming in. He was very disruptive. He was drinking all the time at night and waking truckers up and causing a lot of problems for people. And I put a babysitter on him when he was slow rolling. So I'm sorry, like, I'll give the dude credit for enduring 150 days in remand.
100%.
That's not an easy thing. And he's got my 100%. Admiration for that. But I've never done anything to this guy. I never worked with him at the convoy other than one night. And I had a meeting with him, and I'll tell you what. We agreed that something was going to happen that night. He walked out of the room and nothing got done. Nothing happened the way it was planned. So, and I was okay with that. I was okay. I don't care. But at the end of the day, I just don't understand why the four of us are part of their, and Keith, like, he really goes after Keith. Why are the five of us part of his business plan? It's not working.
Is Keith listed as a lawyer on any of our accounts right now? Like anything to do with Freedom Convoy? He's not on mine. Keith is a friend of mine now. He's an amazing man, and if you ever need legal advice, Keith will let you know what it is. But he's not representing us on the POAC right now because the POAC is over. He's not representing us on our civil trials right now. He's not a criminal lawyer. Number one, he's a civil lawyer. So he's not even part of this, but he is a friend. And to be bashing and going back down this road 4 years after somebody, you need to get a bigger stick or a better stick to stand on because obviously that's getting pretty weak.
Yeah. And, to say about Keith, Keith is currently my lawyer in the lawsuit against the Attorney General. He's, I think, all of our lawyers. But you want to know something? You want to know how much money I've paid Keith Wilson in the 4 years I've known him? He's actually paid me $2,000. He helped me drive out to Alberta to prepare for the POEC because I couldn't find a job anywhere. And I was like on my last leg for money. And he sent me money to drive out to Alberta and to stay at his house to get ready for this commission. Like, I've never paid Keith Wilson a dime. And this guy has done a lifetime work of free medical help for all of us. All you had to do with Keith and Eva was to just treat them with basic civility and respect, and they're incredibly loyal and they would have helped you. But when you start abusing them, it's disgusting. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. The vilification that these two have taken, I'd rather stand in front of both of them and take all the incoming fire on their behalf, because I think it's so gross and so unjustified. But honestly, really, really pisses me off.
Well, I want to go back and just remind people too that if we hadn't had help, if the Justice Center wouldn't have flown a team of lawyers in to assist us in Freedom Convoy and finding a path forward, Freedom Convoy would have been a Bitcoin sales gig. That's where it was headed. And we corrected that by actually bringing some legal expertise in. So,
good point. Good point, Chris. I never thought of that.
Gosh,
I totally forgot about that until just now.
Yeah.
Every opportunity, Bitcoin. But that was never the reason why I went. But hey.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? The four of us, I bet you, if you look at it, other than the four of us in this group, all of our new best friends, all of our friends almost are all lawyers. Isn't that bizarre? I'd say 80% of the people I interact with every day are lawyers. It's crazy.
Yeah. I never thought I'd have so many lawyers in my thought I'd have so many lawyers in my life, but at least that they're good ones,
Yeah. Why couldn't they all be comedians instead of lawyers?
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Or therapists.
Well, you guys, I don't know if you've got anything else that you want to add here to this conversation tonight. I mean, I just think that I'm really hopeful about this motion for the stay of proceedings based on precedent that has been set. Mind you, there is a recent case, I believe, in Alberta that could complicate that a little bit. But March 4th, I guess, is the next date, according to the article. That'll be the next case conference. So I guess we'll see from there if he's going to... Well, I don't think he would actually make the decision that day. He would probably just hear the argument that day. There's 4 months to hear this.
Well, Tamara, March 5th or 4th, when this happened, we will be 5 months into our sentence.
Right.
Food for thought.
Wow. 5 months.
5 months.
More than that. March,
October, right? We're on 4 months.
January. We're going into month 5. This is February.
Yeah, we'll be 5 months in, right? 5 months served in the beginning of March, right? We're 4 months right now, October, November, December. Am I bad on my math?
Yeah, March. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that would be.
I had my probation officer meeting this morning in Swift Current. We had a good visit, and we spoke about reforming me into a non-criminal lifestyle, which I'm complying with. It was a very good conversation. We got to do notes. And
do you feel like you're rehabilitating?
I'm yeah.
Greater good of society?
I think if somebody said, "Hey, Chris, would you like to do another Freedom Convoy?" I'd be like, "No, I'm going to go work, please. We need to get T-shirts made that just say I survived Freedom Convoy."
That's great. I love it. We absolutely do. You got to get Kim on that. Get Kim on it.
Yeah, for sale on bigredmerch.ca.
Oh man.
Oh boy, the stories we tell. I don't know, but I think I'm going to start planning out a book. Tamara, are you going to write a book? Tom, you already got a bunch of books. Danny,
Yeah,
what
I'm
have
gonna get started on my second one here probably within the next week or two. I'll be going to get that rocking and rolling, so that should be exciting.
Awesome.
Good time.
Melissa,
You should.
Danny doesn't have a book yet. Neither Chris
You
and
are-
Danny need to get their books out here yet.
I could just
don't
write
know
an
if I
AI
have
generated
any
book.
desire to do that.
It's actually pretty good
Yeah.
therapy, Danny. It's pretty
It
good
is.
therapy.
It is.
Well, maybe our movie deal will come through and we can just start pushing that through. Hey, it's coming.
Yeah. Yes. Ooh, hang on. I got to answer this. How's French class going? Très bien. Super bien. Merci beaucoup.
It's all French to me.
I saw one comment a while back pop up in the chat quite a while back, but
Yeah.
John was still talking and I'm pretty sure I have the answer, but I just please, guys, if I'm wrong, correct me. Someone asked why we weren't fighting back against the use of the Emergency Act at the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor. If I recall correctly, Coots in Alberta and the Ambassador Bridge were both cleared before the Emergency Act was officially invoked.
Yes.
Is that correct?
They were,
That's
yes.
correct.
Right? Like the police moved and removed those convoys or those protesters before they officially announced the invocation of the Emergency Act.
Yeah.
And actually, because the police were probably able to do that without the Emergency Act, is part of the reason why they were unjustified in using it in Ottawa.
Well,
Does that make
I
sense?
think Coots. I think though Coots, the Emergencies Act was invoked, but Jason Kenney had made a deal, and so it was a lot easier. There was basically a Coots victory from that point of view, where Jason Kenney yielded. So there was no reason to continue on. Like that's why you didn't see a Coots takedown like you saw in Ottawa, because
Right.
they got
Because
what they were asking for. Yeah.
Well,
and so there was no need for it.
And
Yeah.
after the ERT raids on the Coots 4 and the
Yeah,
trailer,
yeah,
after all that occurred, pre-Emergencies Act, the Coots
Yeah.
protest, kind of the protesters at Coots or Milk River
Mhm.
decided that they would withdraw after that. Correct?
Yes.
I
Yes.
think.
Yeah, and I think the last of the Coots 4 were arrested the early morning of the 14th, very early morning. So actually before it was invoked also.
Before it was
And
invoked.
just while we're
Yeah.
on this topic, I just want to jump in here and just say, Tony Oleanic is finally home. He was
Yes.
finally released from prison after almost 4 years behind bars, mostly in remand centers. The last leg was in Drumheller, minimum security, I think it is. And so I just want to say to Tony and his family, I know we're so happy that you're finally back home, and may justice be served.
Yeah, and kudos to Brendan Miller.
Yes.
Kudos to Brendan Miller. That's right. Yeah, kudos
Yeah.
to Brendan Miller for taking that on. And yeah, Miller time is always a good time.
Yeah.
Brendan's
So
probably
he's good at what he does.
from the start, and they wouldn't have been through what they were on. But
Yeah.
yes. Well, guys,
Okay. Well, yeah.
Appreciate
Let's call her a night. I just want to say to everybody that came, thank you for joining us. This is obviously not our normal day and normal time, but we did just feel that this was a really important topic and wanted to get the word out. And this is really good news. There's potentially a chance that we're not going to get sued for $290 million. So I mean, I think that that's my good feeling news of the day. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It brightens the day to feel like there's a little bit of a chance that $290 million isn't going to just continue to crush everything that you've worked your whole life to build for your family.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Back on Thursday night, everyone, we have a special guest with us this week. Kayla Pollock will be here to talk about her experience through this pandemic, shall we say?
Yes.
Yeah. I won't be there for that one. I'll be.
Yeah, we're going to have
heading
Kayla on to talk about her injury.
Yeah. Good. I wish. No, I'm going to miss that one. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss that one. I'll be just getting back from New York City flying out there tomorrow, talking to the Federalist Society, a group of lawyers that are flying me out to New York to talk about the convoy and the Emergencies Act and stuff like that. But my final thought for the night is this. Yeah, if you've got receipts about any of us during the convoy, after 4 years, just release them. Just say it, man. If not, even better, you know what you can do? Just call up Paul Champ and give him the info you have. Just give it to him.
Yep,
He'll
that's
take
right.
your $60,000. Yeah,
Jump on
just pay
the-
him
Jump on
$60,000
the
and
chat
he'll take your
train.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
He'll take the 60 grand.
Usually, a receipt
So-
looks
Yeah.
like this. It's a thin piece of paper, and you usually have to show it to prove
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah.
apparently, that doesn't have to matter.
Yeah.
Could you imagine all the dirty, disgusting lies we could just spew with our audience and people? You know, I've said this before in the past. I'm like, we could come on here and say some pretty utter ridiculous things, and there's a certain segment of a following that would believe anything that comes out of our mouth. We don't do
Yes.
that.
No.
But other, you know.
No.
I love it. You know what? The drama continues, and this is just the latest, development in the drama. And while this has been transpiring, one of my pilot vehicles has had emissions issues on our pickup truck. So Kelly, I will be calling him back after to find out where to delete this bullshit off of these new trucks, so they don't have problems.
Oh no. Oh no. Well, thank you to Tom and Danny for making the time to come on tonight. I really appreciate that. Tom, I hope you have a fantastic trip and best of luck.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I thank you again to everyone in the comments and everyone who showed up to check out the show tonight. Really appreciate it. Although my husband said he would divorce me if I ever said this, I'm going to say give us a like and a subscribe and a share if you like what you're seeing. We House Arrest streams live every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, next week we have the lovely Kayla Pollock on to talk about her story, her injury, the VISP program, and much, much more. So we will see you guys Thursday. Have a great night, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Good night.